Hi everyone, Intuitive Kathleen Miller here, and welcome to the July 2025 Intuitive Energy Forecast. And I was peeking at this yesterday when I was out in nature, and that's probably one of my favorite place to channel, and just really tuning in, getting sort of insight, talking with my guides and my galactic team to be able to, bring as much support and inspiration, empowerment for you to be able to make the most of this month. So let's dive in. June, in hindsight, was kind of all over the map, to be honest, for me. It was tremendous ongoing recalibration, which I know many of you experienced. As I've shared before on my podcast and in a lot of other videos, I'm in tremendous personal transition, and we all are in our own version of transition, depending on what your personal life is doing, what your health and your body's doing, what your business and your soul path is doing. And there's many of us who have, a lot rearranging, collapsing, like reorganizing, clearing entirely for a new setup. So if that is going on for you in one or several areas, that really felt like from June, the staircases that were moving and those energetic detours that really were very uncomfortable, really kind of out of nowhere, and in some instances, and a lot of very deep processing. I've really been awe-inspired of how deep the processing can be. So, and I'm hearing that from a lot of my clients as well. All right, so let's dive into July. So really, I always ask to kind of download three big themes and three big focal points to really help it to be more manageable and to easier to assimilate. And I know June had a lot going on in it, and July is, it's going to be so fun. It's going to be interesting. And the biggest thing right out of the gate, the number one point was time to climb. Okay. Time to climb. And when I asked for, more insight around this analogy, what I got was, it's time, all this development we've all done, all of this inner work, all of this, preparation, gifts opening, calibrating to higher and higher spaces. Now it's time to do the work to actually climb with it. Okay. We've been stretching, we've been, preparing. I know I've used the Olympic analogy a lot, but it's really, really valid, because if you're hearing this and this is really intimidating, like, oh my gosh, climbing and like really challenging my endurance right now feels way overwhelming, then you want to back up and ask, okay, if I'm not feeling ready to climb, what do I need to prepare to climb? Okay, you're not gonna work out 2 days and go in the Olympics. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to work. You're not going to keep up. And so part of this inner work, which is physical as well. I mean, it does come into the physical body being strong enough to handle integrating these light waves that are coming to the planet, and the Schumann, all of these higher calibrations that are higher than they've ever been, you guys, between back-to-back clearings, a lot of grids are resetting. So this work is kind of different in everybody's experience. For some, it's tremendously detoxification. For me, I've been in emotional stuff I thought I was well past and well beyond, has come up in different, it's circled back of forgiveness and release and really, contemplation of ownership and accountability for, all the dark parts that we all have. And I think this is part of those aspects around, whatever traumas or whatever dysfunction, addiction, illness, imbalance, trauma that we have to resolve and really kind of be with, to let it fully release from our channel. That, I know that's ongoing work for all of us in different realms, but if you notice pieces that you are almost confusing, like, why is this coming up? I'm beyond this. Be with it. There's something there. There's a gift of acknowledgement. There's a gift of maybe a piece of ownership, a piece of accountability, a piece of acceptance with it so that it can fully unwind and release for you. And that might be, really, really important, because and you think about the metaphor of climbing, if you're really going to rock climb and you're going to go up, if you're a couple feet off the ground, it's no big deal. You can bounce down. Even if you kind of fell back, you'd roll, you'd be okay. But once you're really up and you're really, a good amount off the ground, you're several stories up, the awareness and the reinforced stamina and the knowing what you're doing, dealing with a lot of unexpected. You can't see the rock unless you're like right up on it. All kinds of different holds. That's really an energetic metaphor for, kind of climbing into the unknown, having to be, for those of you that are the light leaders and the, just, you're really blazing a trail for many others with you. And that's not superior. It's just sort of, this is in our many millions in their soul charts to come here and be the illumination for this transition and planetary and multiversal change at this time. So really time to climb. And so you want to just ask, bring this back into the day. What does that mean for you? Where does this, if I turned this into my personal life, what challenge of climbing higher or going higher or challenging myself to lift even more, what area of my life is that around? Is it investments? Is it where I'm putting my energy? Is it what more I need to learn and kind of being in development to move forward? So it's going to be a bit of all of those. And as we commit to this, and ever increasing discomfort, guys, I mean, it's just, there's just not an easy way to say that. But if you think about climbing, it's a lot of healthy tension on the body. It's not a bad thing. And it is making us stronger, and we are capable of doing it. But the big piece is it's time. It's time to begin to challenge ourselves and kind of double down on the strengthening on whatever level where that resonates for you. So that's number one. Number two is winds of change. Okay. And this was really highlighting, of course, the air element. Last month we had the fire element, which was tempering our anger, tempering our, when unexpected shows up, things aggravating us. And so we're moving from fire to air element this month, and winds of change though. So this is really, and if you think about climbing for, high level climbers that are going up higher, they need to be aware of winds, and they need to handle wind coming at them from unexpected directions. So this can be, and you think about on the energetic level, air element is your ideas, all of a sudden the awareness to change direction, all of a sudden really new inspiration. And it also feels quick. If you've ever been, out on the boat, or maybe you need wind for your sails, like you have to wait for it to come to you. And so this is a bit of, for many of us, we're waiting for that kind of wind shift to kind of go forward, because you can't force that. It's got to be time. It always comes in when it is the divine timing of it. So trusting when, if all of a sudden you have a change of heart, a change of awareness, a change of direction, to really, definitely be asking questions. Is this right for me? Is this maybe all of a sudden something I wasn't anticipating is kind of showing up? I'm noticing that's a really interesting thing too with manifestations, and especially as we're manifesting in a multidimensional way now, it is just a different way to kind of move in the world. And so this is where, the divine's meeting us in it. And so being open to that, being not blown over by that. If you think about hurricane winds, I mean, this is part of why the palm trees stay in Florida, is because they will grow they can really sustain a lot of wind, and they just bend with it. They don't uproot. They don't come out, where many trees do and many things do. So we don't want to get uprooted with strong winds of change. We want to be really rooted, very grounded, and able to handle this even while we're climbing. So we're as we go into these higher levels of the unknown, these higher levels of ascension, really handling this increase of air energy as well, so that we're able to sustain all of the impacts of what we're acclimating to. Okay, so that's number 2. And then the third one made me a little, I'm still asking for more clarity around this, but I'm just going to report. And, at first it made me a little nervous, but they were showing me a backpack, and they were showing me, and the message was pack wisely. And so, and again, it goes back to that analogy, as if you were going to climb and you were going to really go to a new place, and you could only have a backpack, and you could only have a certain amount of, things that you had to clarify as essential, what would be in there. And at first it really brought up a lot of discomfort of because I have pared down so much. I've probably gone to close to half of my belongings of where I moved out of a few months ago. And so now it's to hear, oh my gosh, you're paring down more. And I do daily releases around this, but it's also this awareness of the necessity of simplification, so that, again, as change comes, now this may be different for each of you. This might not be everybody's calling, but take that pack wisely, however that resonates for you. It might be literal packing for somewhere you're going. It may be change and really transitioning your business, transitioning your the way you're doing things, and asking for more efficient, wiser, more kind of compact ways of doing that. And so this to me feels relevant to longevity of success. It feels relevant to simplification for thriving, just basic thriving in it. But it was, again, very uncomfortable to hear. And I thought, is this a negative, that we can't take our things? And they, my guides were saying, no, it's not about that. It is about really, if you're truly asking for your highest timeline of well-being, of peace, of thriving in the new earth, this packing wisely to go towards it will make sense down the line. And at the moment, just apply it where it's not overwhelming. Apply it where it can be just a simple commitment to consistent decluttering. It can be a simple, reorganization to look at things. And what I found, especially moving from into like 10% of the square footage of where I've been, it's been such a gift and so galvanizing of my focus. But I realize it's such a gift because it's making me look at every single thing, because a few inches is important. It's almost like the tiny house where, okay, only so much space is really here, and what's really required, what do I really require to thrive? And what's really ironic is it takes so few things to really be nourished and cared for and have the basics there. And in a lot of cases we get freed up. I'm doing so many donations of all kinds of different ways, of a lot of things that I've just held on to for years and decades in some case, that don't even make sense. And so I know everybody can relate to that. We all have things to kind of just simplify, and so just asking to see through that lens of, because I really couldn't see it when I was in the bigger space. I thought, no, there's space for everything. And now in this new dynamic, I'm really like, wow, this is, I'm looking at every single piece now, and what do I really, is resonating and contributing to a higher future. And when you ask that about every single piece that you own, because every single thing that you own, even the pens, even the, little crystals, little things, they can be, sometimes they're not yours. I've had jewelry say, hey, I want to go to other members of the family that I've sent away. I've had crystals that I've left behind. I've had different things I've gifted a lot. And so sometimes it's more of, where does this belong? It's not about, oh, let me just trash all of this. It's, wow, who would this bless? Who would this, contribute to, that could be, expanding for their future. And it's kind of clunky for me. So asking that, packing wisely, and seeing what resonates around that. So, all in all, it's an exciting month. It's sort of, it feels, if you've ever gone on a climb, I used to climb, I'm definitely a climber and love rappelling everything in the mountains myself. And, but what I realize is, you've got to be really prepared and really ready to go do that. And so it's time to get going. And no matter where you are, really being kind to the self, and because there's a lot of emotional releases happening in the collective right now. So really remembering that some of what you might be going into, extreme emotion, may not be yours. You may be in a collective wave. So constantly asking to just bless everyone that's dealing with whatever issues coming up for you, having that release, and then, right back to the focus of, okay, what's next steps, or what's that next kind of hold for me to kind of lift higher. So I hope this has been helpful. If you feel like, hey, I need more support, or I've got more to kind of work through around this, I'm always available internationally for virtual sessions, and you can find out more about that at intuitivelifestylesuccess.com. I should have a new podcast coming out later this week. I've got so many downloads, so many different points of information from my own process that they're wanting me to share as content as well. So I will absolutely be doing that. And otherwise, I always love feedback. Definitely send me a line. Let me know more of what you'd like to hear about, or more support. I'm always open to adding more support videos and content as well. So thank you guys so much. Happy July. Happy 4th for those in America. And that's coming up this weekend. And otherwise, have a beautiful month, and I'll see you at the top.